everyone, and welcome to Southern Discomfort. I know we are doing it at a little bit of a different time today. I had some things come up this week, so I had to switch things around, getting stuff ready for our trip out of town this weekend to the Thomas House to support Elite Vixen Paranormal. So we will be reporting to you on that and how everything goes. Hey, Stephen, welcome to the chat, man. Glad that you are here with us. Bethany is going to be up here with me in just a little bit, and we'll give a few minutes for people to hop in chat. Hey, PW. I am checking to make sure we are streaming everywhere and all that is set up and good to go. Hey, Dustin. All right, we are good on Facebook and Twitter, the PPR channel, and yobaby Blondie. For those of you who have missed what's been going on the channel for the past couple of days, you've missed some great stuff. So Monday, we had a special Krampus edition with Papa Wolf. He was on, and he is a Krampus expert and enthusiast, and he gave us a kind of the history and stuff on Krampus. And then yesterday, for those of you who missed the stream last week, Tanya, our yobaby Blondie, she ordered a haunted box and she opened it up, and this doll started making the K2 meters go off. So yesterday she did a live stream in the afternoon with the doll using Spirit Talker, Necrophonics, and K2 meters. And those K2 meters were pinging and going on and off the entire time. And we got some good stuff. I know she also did EVP recording, so it will be interesting to hear back if she picked anything up on those. That is all on the channel, and so you can go back and find those videos or some of the recent ones. Thursday, I will be back with Immortal Shadows going through the Book of Revelation, and Friday, Dustin will be doing his Haunted and Beyond. So that's what's coming up for the rest of the week. And then next week, we'll be back on regular schedule with Southern Discomfort on Tuesdays. Yeah, Dustin, we are proud of Tanya. She did a wonderful job with the questions and everything. So that was a lot of fun. Really, really cool. So if y'all missed those, go back and check them out. We got tons of different stuff here on the channel for you. We kind of do a broad variety of stuff that all has to do with the paranormal and horror, and falls all under that umbrella. So those have been our latest live streams. Tonight, we are doing an introduction on the 13 gates of the Necronomicon. So what tonight is going to be about is kind of we're going to go a little bit deeper into the Necronomicon and what it's about. And this is Lovecraftian version of the Necronomicon. And we're going to, after we do this little introduction in the weeks to come, we're going to start getting into those 13 gates. Now, however, because I have respect for all things spiritual, and because I am a pastor and my concern is the well-being of your souls, I am not going to be giving you the keys to unlock the 13 gates of the Necronomicon, because there's bound to be somebody out there foolish enough who has no idea what they're doing that's going to go try to mess with this, and I don't want that on my hands. There's ways, if you are interested in practice, if you want to go look at how to unlock these 13 gates, you're more than welcome to, but I will not be handing you a loaded gun, so to speak. Now hey, CC, welcome. Glad that you're here with us. Now, I know there's debate about whether the stuff in the Necronomicon is real or made up, fact or fiction. Some people believe it's kind of a little bit blending of both. Irregardless of that, it has been turned into a mythos today and an occult practice, and it has been given power. So because of that, I will not be handing over the keys to the 13 gates and teaching you how to do that. I'm not having that blood on my hands. I'm not going to be responsible for oh, well, Zeke gave it to me, let me try it. Nah, it's not going to happen under my watch. You want to do that, you can go off on your own. There's certain ways to do that. But with anything messing with the paranormal or anything like that, always use extreme caution. This is not a game. This is not something fun to do, sitting around with your friends and in a drunken stupor decide, hey, it'd be a good idea for us to start trying to unlock some of the 13 gates. There's a weightiness to this and a seriousness to it. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can undergo some spiritual harm. And here is my beautiful blonde bride-to-be. Welcome, Boo Bear.
Hey.
Glad that you are with us, baby. I was just kind of giving an introduction of what we're doing tonight. We've got PW in the chat, Dustin, Cece. Let's see who else I missed. Steven are all here hanging out with us. And I imagine that we'll pick up more as we go along here, since we kind of had to start a little bit early today. So I was warning them about doing anything stupid with the Necronomicon. And then I brought you up. Now, I will tell you that I did download you've heard us talk about the Simon version of the Necronomicon. I downloaded that the other night and have started making my way back through that one because it's been a while since I have read it. So as we go along in this series, I may throw some stuff out there that I'm reading in that. So they're all telling you hello, Bethany. I know she's busy with kids right now and stuff. She may not hear me. So.
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing. I just said everybody was telling you hello.
Oh, hey, everybody.
Now, as I was saying about these 13 gates, I'm not sure kind of how we're going to break this down. I don't know in the shows to come if we'll do like 3 gates at a time. It just depends on how far we get each week in what's presented and the questions that come up in relationship to these gates. Now, as you heard me talking about before, the 13 gates of the Necronomicon, they found its origin in the writings of H.P. Lovecraft, Howard Philip Lovecraft. He is the one that we are going to be mining his writings along with some other practitioners who kind of sprinkled stuff in along the way. Now, when we're looking at the Necronomicon here, and starting off with the writings of Lovecraft, if you go through his stories and you read everything that he has to say about the Necronomicon, you're going to find 4 threads of mythos that run through his writings that play into the Necronomicon. Now, there's a Necronomicon from the Evil Dead, right? We have talked about that. And I started watching an interesting movie on Tubi last night about the Necronomicon. It's from 2023. It has Michael Marsden in it. It's really odd. I don't know what else to say about it other than it is odd, and I'm not sure my consensus on it yet. I still have about 30 more minutes to go in the movie. It's really short. It's only like 75 minutes. But it's like an odd fever dream. So if you want to check that out, just go to Tubi and type in Necronomicon. But let's get back to H.P. Lovecraft and some of the 4 mythos that we see in the Necronomicon that are going to play into the 13 gates and what is standing behind those gates and what they are used to summon. The biggest mythos that everybody is familiar with is Cthulhu, right? He is this alien. It comes from an alien race from the distant star systems or another dimension of space and time. And this is kind of the most popular one that you're going to see is the Cthulhu mythos running through the Necronomicon. The second thing that you're going to see running through the Necronomicon, as far as Lovecraftian mythos go, you're going to see ancient sorceries all throughout this. There's going to be things about summoning demons. There's going to be things about witches and witchcraft, and a lot of the darker side of that is found in the Necronomicon. One of the biggest things about it is bringing the dead back to life. So there's certain things in there that are going to have to do with the dark side of occult practices. And one of the things that you'll see in Lovecraft's writings is that whoever reads this Necronomicon, they go insane because of the deep, dark, otherworldly power that is behind the book and that is contained within these gates. And if you know anything about a gate, it is to keep something in and also to keep something else out. So when those gates are open and the human plane meets that kind of astral plane where all these entities exist, those creatures of that Lovecraftian plane can cause absolute madness. And we see this if you've ever watched John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. That is a Lovecraftian tribute right there. It's one of my favorite all-time horror movies. It's up there high on the list, and I know it's one of your favorites too, isn't it, Bethany? She might be busy right now. I'll get back to you, Bethany. Another thread.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
No, I was just affirming you like In the Mouth of Madness too, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Another thread of the mythos when we get into Lovecraft is this exploration of dreamlands. And H.P. Lovecraft admits that the Necronomicon and a lot of the stories and the creatures that he writes about, he dreamed these up. Hey, Molly, welcome to the chat. I'm glad you are here with us. Let me go back through here, see if I've missed anybody. Yep, PW, you're right. Not given the keys to the 13 gates. So that the mythos is the third one is dreams and dream worlds that is going to come into play in Lovecraftian writing and in the Necronomicon. The last one, the fourth one, has to do with a dark one. And if you watch Ash versus Evil Dead, you will hear Ruby. I'm talking about Ash versus Evil Dead, the TV series that they did 3 seasons of. It's not in any of the movies, but they refer to Ruby as this dark one. Ruby is the one played by Lucy Lawless in the series. And so this dark one is occupied with death, destruction, decay, corruption. He's involved with ghouls and graves and the resurrection of the dead. So those are kind of what we're going to see running through the Necronomicon when we look at the 13 gates. And the Necronomicon includes a lot of both mythos and magic, and I'm using magic in the occult sense. And a lot of people have used Lovecraft's writings for the basis of a system of practical magic and a very foundation of an entirely new religion. You can see, look at Aleister Crowley and see his, he was influenced by the Necronomicon and H.P. Lovecraft. Yes, Molly, you're right. Ishtar, Marduk, Cthulhu, those are names that we are all, that are going to be mentioned later on with these 13 gates. You're going to see a lot of the old elder gods mentioned in the stuff that we are going to go over. Now, another interesting mythos that plays into the Necronomicon, and it is one that you go back and search in cultures, and you see this all over the place. Modern mythology, modern paranormal, call this UFO abductions, and there's a whole debate out there in the paranormal community about what UFOs and alien abductions, all that is, and we're not tapping into that tonight because that's a whole nother can of worms. Hey, Kenneth, glad that you're here tonight or this evening. Thank you for joining us. But this idea that the earth is visited by otherworldly beings, we find this all throughout the Necronomicon. And this goes back into ancient cultures as well, about how certain gods and goddesses reached down and came to the earth from a different type of realm. So this is a very ancient myth, and we see it played out in Lovecraftian lore. And the thing is, with these ancient gods and all of these spiritual beings in Lovecraftian writing and in the Necronomicon, they're not seen by the naked eye. So even though they are all around, even though they can be contacted, they can't be seen with the naked eye. It's that a spiritual eye that has to be opened when crossing that plane into that ethereal plane, as Lovecraft likes to call it and mention it. So that's going back to these alien races that we see in the Necronomicon and Lovecraft. That is something that I wanted to highlight because it does play into modern paranormal talk. Lovecraft would have considered aliens, UFOs, these mystical elder gods that can be summoned through these gates. And the other thing about the Necronomicon in Lovecraftian writing, if you go back to every ancient religion, they always have something that has happened before the creation of humanity. Whether you're looking at, what I am in the Judeo-Christian tradition, you go back and look at Akkadian, Babylonian, Sumerian, which Simon Necronomicon draws from, Egypt, all of these ancient cultures, all of them talk about this primordial earth before humanity was there. And the Necronomicon does the same thing. A lot of these elder god and older god races were all here before humanity. And so that is another link that we have of Lovecraftian lore with other religions. So keep that in mind too, that all of these beings that are contacted and can be summoned and encountered through the 13 gates are all very, very ancient and old and were here before humanity. So that is another interesting thing. They ruled, you'll see in the Necronomicon and the writings of Lovecraft, that they ruled this planet for eons before humans came along. And as we get into, we'll talk about the different wars between these certain elder gods, which ones were the most powerful, which ones were the most peaceful, what their strengths and weaknesses are. We're going to get into all of that as we go through these certain gates. The next thing, we've already talked about whether or not people take this as real or not, so we'll kind of skip over that. We know there's a debate about whether this is just fully fiction or if it's fully real, or if it is a little bit of both. I'm not here to decide that for you. That's something that you will have to decide on your own through your own study. But as I have said, the way that this is now, it's been given power, and people take this seriously. So I will not be handing out the keys to the 13 gates. The next thing I want to show you, I've got a diagram here that kind of lays out the astral gates of the Necronomicon and what they look like. I couldn't find this particular diagram online. I really like it a lot. I've got it in a book. But I'm going to keep searching, because if I can find one that I like, I definitely want to put it up here so you can see better, because it's going to track our movement around the gates as we talk about each one. So when we look at this city that the gates enter into, the way that it's spelled out and played out is the city kind of exists in a square, and you have all of the gates around this square. And what you're going to see is the gates kind of move in a clockwise fashion. Let me hold this up here for you, see if you can see it. This is the diagram. Now, if you see, it starts, you have the 13th gate, which is up north. And then if you go clockwise, you see gates 1, 2, 3, 4 on the east. Then you have 4 more at the south. And then at the west, you have 4 more. And each one of those gates that opens leads you into the center of this realm, so that you can encounter or release the elder god or alien or demon or whatever it is that is trying to be contacted. So if all else fails, I will screenshot it and put it up there. That chart is from Donald Tyson's The 13 Gates of the Necronomicon, which is by far one of the best books that I have ever read on the subject. So if you're looking for something to give you really, really in-depth stuff about it, then that is the book to get. I've got a lot of my notes from it that I'm going to be talking about on the show. A lot of the information I'm getting is inspired from this book and other sources, but that book is your one-stop shop. This one right here, 13 Gates of the Necronomicon by Donald Tyson. And y'all know I like to do that. Every time that we start a series, I'm always going to throw some books there for you that I have read and studied, that I think are some of the best ones out there. So you don't have to waste your time like I did buying books and rummaging through them to try to figure out which one is the best. So this one is by far one of the best ones out there. Give me a moment, and I'm going to go through chat here and make sure that I haven't missed anybody. Oh, okay, Molly, you've got a tattoo of the 3 symbols and 3 great gates. Look, if you want to send a picture, my email is just my name, Ezekiel Kincaid @gmail.com. And then you can send it to us, and we've got a way to upload it on here. Thank you, Dustin, for putting that up there. That is Donald Tyson's book that I highly, highly recommend. PW, yes. Each side represents east, west, north, south to the gates. Yeah, PW, we have the same book. I think we actually talked about that before, about how good this book was. So see if I can find this diagram. I like it because it's very, very simple. It's not all hard to read and understand. Now, another thing to understand about these gates is, right, the 13 gates, all of these gates are astral gates that are based on astrology and the aligning of the stars. And during certain solstices is when you're supposed to try to open certain gates. Again, I'm not putting all that out there to put. I've already talked about that. So the 13 gates, these were based on the astral gates, astrology, whatever you want to call it, of a lot of the ancient cultures and the fixed stars and how they viewed things. And this is what you see if you get in deep to the rituals of the gate, if you go further into your study. Now, these gates, right? We talked about gates as kind of a crossing way. These gates are not what we think of as modern gates. There's not bars across them. They don't have a padlock on them or anything like that. I'm gonna put it here in the chat, Molly, my email. There you go. Just copy and paste that and send it to me. So these astral gates are really like two pillars that are standing up, and we see this concept that goes back again into ancient cultures. What I like is even as a Bible scholar, you see this same type of imagery in the Old Testament. So when Solomon erects the first temple, it was a huge deal for Israel to finally have their temple. And these bronze pillars that Solomon put up before the temple to its entrance, they weren't really used as supporting beams. They were meant to be these type of memorial stones. And the right pillar was called Jachin, which means he shall establish. And the left pillar of the temple was called Boaz, which means in its strength. So he will establish in its strength. And again, these were symbolic. They didn't really support anything in the temple, but they existed for one reason only. They were the gateway to the sacred space into the Holy of Holies. And this is what we see with other things in ancient cultures, and this is what we see with the Necronomicon. If you looked and saw the image I had on the thumbnail on this, you'll see that I tried to find something and create something that would capture that essence. You'll see the two pillars there on either side, and the Necronomicon in the middle. Those two pillars are kind of the concept of the gate. They are an entryway into any sort of sacred space. And this was found in a lot of ancient cultures that had temples and gates and things like that. Hey, John, welcome to the chat. I'm glad that you have joined us today. We are doing our introduction on the 13 gates of the Necronomicon. So thank you for being here. So those gates, and then being based on the alignment of the stars and astrology and the constellations as kind of an archetype to give forth this power of transformation that is needed to go and cross over into these gates. And we talked about how they are opened and stuff like that. Now, going back to astrology, and a lot of the Lovecraftian lore is based on Arabic astrology. A lot of it nowadays is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's not watered down. It's maybe made more convenient into the number 12. Well, in the ancient cultures, when we go back and look at the ancient astrology, they were divided into 13. And so this is why we have the 13 gates, and we have 13 astrological signs that were assigned to them. So the Lovecraftian lore goes back further than kind of how we have made our modern astrology a little more convenient. Hey, Dennis, glad that you are here with us in the chat. Thank you so much. So that's just a little aside about ancient astrology. And if you're wondering why there are 13 gates, that is why, to go with 13 astrological, what's the word I'm thinking of? Combinations of stars here. See if there's anything else that I wanted to relay to y'all, just to give you an introduction before I jump to my final thought in this. I'm checking through my notes. We've hit everything. The last thing that I have written down here that I want to talk to you about is so when we go back here, let me grab the book. I want to pull up this again. All right. This chart that Donald Tyson has. When we look at each wall of this astral city, it's divided this way for a reason. And we talked about how you go clockwise, and on one wall, on the east wall, you're going to have a certain type of race that you can encounter. The wall, a certain type of race that you can encounter. And then on the west wall and north, a certain type of race that you can encounter. And they're divided like that in given order for a reason. So if we're looking at that chart, and if we're going to start on the east side with gates 1 through 4, this is the great alien races. And we're going to talk about the great alien races, and we get into gates 1 through 4. So I'm not going to spill the beans about who that entails and what that is. We will be getting into that next week. But on that east side, depending on who the necromancer connected with the most, if you had one that connected with the alien races the most, then they would pick one of these gates and the certain gods that were associated with either gates 1, 2, 3, or 4, and use that and that key as their entryway. So that is the east. The 4 keys of the south lead into, remember how we talked about dreamlands? That's what these 4 keys of the south lead us into. Because again, we talked about the 4 mythoses that is found in Lovecraftian lore and Necronomicon. We talked about alien races. And here is the second thing we talked about is this type of dreamland and landscapes. And so this is kind of what opens up these worlds beyond the earth. And again, depending on the necromancer's or the occultist ability, if they were good with dreams, then this would be maybe one of the gates that they would feel most drawn to explore. So alien races on the east, in the south you had the dreamland, and then we get to the west. And these 4 keys, gates that open to the west, they open the ways to a secret sort of knowledge. This would include stuff here. I have written down occult books, certain curiosities, magic objects, and it leads into the deep abominations of this astral city. So this would be definitely for somebody who is drawn to the more darker side of all this. I mean, the whole Necronomicon is dark, so we're really splitting hairs here. So I guess somebody who wants to go more deeper than the darkness from the east gate and the south gate. And the north gate, that is one of the major entry ways into the city, that 13th gate. I'm not going to say much about it because I want to kind of keep it a little mysterious, but I know all y'all are going to go out there and cheat. You're going to go look it all up after we get done. And so it won't be a big surprise to you once we get to that 13th gate. But that is kind of where we're going forward with this entire series. We're going to start with the East Gate and the alien races. Then we're going to move into the dream worlds and what's contained in there. And then we're going to move into the dark abominations of the city. And there's just all kinds of creatures and fascinating things that are going to be here coming out as we talk about all of these things. So I thought about including this, what we're talking about, with kind of the first lessons on the gates, but it would end up being much too long. So I want to kind of to just do a shorter show on this and kind of get this out of the way and lay the foundation so that when we come back next week, we can hop straight into gate 1. And gate 1 is going to be these first few gates, because it's all alien races, and this is what most people are familiar with when they read Lovecraft. You're going to hear a lot of familiar terms with Cthulhu and these other ancient gods. This is kind of where they all fall into play. Hey, bud, welcome to the chat, my man. Thank you for being here with us this evening. So that is what you can expect moving forward in this series. And I am really excited about this series. I find first of all, I'm a huge Lovecraft fan, and our first thing that we did in this series was on Lovecraft. Talked about his writing is a little bit archaic, and if you're not well dispersed in what you read, and by that I mean if you're just used to reading modern stuff, modern English, and then you go back and try to read things from the past, it's going to hit differently. It's a totally different style, and this is what you find with Lovecraft. But the thing I can appreciate going back and reading something for what it is in its historical setting and time period, and that's kind of the mindset I get into when I go back and read Lovecraft. And there is this existential dread that just hangs over the stories of H.P. Lovecraft. It's all about a maddening. And as we talked about with the Necronomicon, reading it, being exposed to it according to Lovecraftian lore, can make one go crazy. And it's a shame Bethany is not up here with me, because she would probably say, because I've read the Necronomicon, or what is considered the Necronomicon, several times, and it's never made me crazy. But Bethany would probably say that's because I'm already nuts and off my rocker anyway. So that's a good thing. If you're a little insane, then maybe it won't affect you. So have at it. No, seriously, anything like that, depending on how much power you put into that, whether you believe it or not. Some people won't touch it. Some people won't read it. I, on the other hand, will read pretty much anything out there that I can get my hands on. And actually, I'm going to see where Bethany is. She may be getting kids down for bed. Yep, she is. I don't know if she's going to be back up. This was kind of just a bad time for her. But as I told y'all earlier in the show, I had to do this time. Had some stuff come up. I've got some stuff going on later this evening that I have to go attend to. And just everything's kind of chaotic in my evenings these past 2 days. But we will be back tomorrow night at our regular time for Immortal Shadows. And we are going to be going through another extreme fascinating book of Revelation. And we are breaking the 7 seals. And again, unfortunately, Bethany isn't up so that I can make my seal joke that she absolutely hates. I'll have to save that when she's back on. It's not as fun saying stuff when she's not here, stuff that annoys her. That kind of like my energy. She's up here and I can say things that I know is going to annoy her and get under her skin. It just kind of eggs me on. So she'll be back up tomorrow, and I can make the seal joke again. So for those of you who missed it, it's really bad. It's really bad. It is a great dad joke. So tune in tomorrow night for the 7 seals. That's okay, PW. Just get to my book whenever you have time. If you're like me, I can't just read one book at a time. When it comes to books, I am ADD. I have like 4 books that I read at a time, and I'm always jumping back and forth between them. So like right now, I am reading a fiction book that is kind of a horror thriller from an author that I haven't read yet. So I wanted to check it out. And so far, so good. I'm digging it. I'm also reading another book on ancient cultures and their demonology. For my study in scripture, I'm reading through the Old Testament book of Joshua. Right now, because of our series, I am reading through the stories of H.P. Lovecraft again. So it's just the way my mind works. And what it does for me is it enables me to read for longer periods of time, because I'm sitting there reading and then I find myself getting a little tired and bogged down, and then I can switch to something else, and that just pops me right back into gear again. So I can just go all night long in reading because I'm able to switch it up like that. Thing is, it just takes me longer to read books and get through them. All right, John, you said you're reading Jack Perrin UFO Mysteries. How is that, by the way? How are you enjoying it? Are you, are you reading it, or do you have it on Audible? I'll give John a minute to answer. But again, I'm going to put this book back up here. Donald Tyson, The 13 Gates of the Necronomicon. You know what would be cool, Dustin? I might reach out to this guy and see if we can get him on the show. I'll do that. I'll see if I can track him down on social media and get him on the show one day to interview him. How would y'all like that, listeners and watchers? See if Zeke can work his magic and get him on as a guest. See what I can do. I'll see what I can do, Dustin. But again, you can find that book on Amazon. I bought it when Bethany and I went down to New Orleans last May for my birthday. We went around to a bunch of, they've got there in New Orleans, got your more touristy occult shops, and then you have your more authentic ones. We don't do touristy. We like the real deal. So we went into some authentic places, and I grabbed that one and some other stuff. Dennis, what do you mean, do we get paid more? No, I can't pay anybody to be on this show. This isn't Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. However, if I could use this, if y'all buy my books and I start making money off of them one day, then I can start paying some big names to be on the show. How about that? I'm always looking for guests and new people to have on the show to talk about this type of stuff, who are experts in different fields, right? Because we all have different interests and things that we are good at, right? My expertise is in theology and ancient Near East cultures. I do know a lot about other paranormal stuff and occult practices and things like that, but because I'm not a practitioner of them, and also because I have not gone to school and studied these things, I would never dare call myself an expert. Though I know about them and like to talk about them, I would never claim that title. That's insulting to those who do. So anybody that I can find in these fields, like we had Papa Wolf on, I know about Krampus, but I don't know what this guy knows about Krampus. This guy was absolutely amazing. I learned so much from him because we've been friends for a while. And every time I have a Krampus question, he's the one that I go to, and he sends me just a ton of stuff and links. But it has to be, it's the people that we have on the show, and the people that I get it as guests and Dustin get as guests. They are people that we trust, people that we know. It's not just any YouTuber out there who has a channel, right? These are people that it's never just like, oh, hey, come on our show, right? It's people that we know. It's people that we trust. It's people that we know their character. We know their integrity. So whenever we do have guests on the show, you can be certain that we are giving you good quality stuff. So go back and watch that one that we did on Krampus, because Wolf is just absolutely an amazing person and full of knowledge. That's funny, Dennis. I'm gonna put that up there. I was standing in a field yesterday. I guess I was the most informed person there. I was by myself. I think I find that so funny because that's something I would say. That's a joke I would make. That was good. Really, really good, Dennis. Thank you for that. Just kind of waiting to see if Bethany is going to be able to make it back. I don't think she is. So we will go ahead and kind of start to wrap things up this evening. But just another reminder, since we are talking about Lovecraft, this drops tomorrow. This is Southern Discomfort, issue 10 for December. This is the last story in season 1, a kaiju for Christmas. So this is like a monster kind of Godzilla type story with very, very heavy Lovecraftian type of flair and influence to it. This was a very fun story for me to write. It is about a man who finds a document, and it fits well with what we're doing in the book of Revelation. Because as you will see as we go through the book, it mentions the 7 thunders sound, and the 7 thunders John is commanded to seal up and not write down. So what I did with this story is I took the idea of the 7 thunders being sealed up, and I had a document of the 7 thunders be uncovered. Somebody somewhere broke God's command and wrote it down. And the book, inspired by the Necronomicon, has a maddening effect on whoever reads it. And Dr. Constantine uncovers this document of the 7 thunders while on a dig in Ephesus, and it ends up bringing him down this maddening rabbit hole of insanity with his obsession over these creatures. And then we have the tension, like you do in any type of Lovecraftian story, about whether the main character is absolutely insane or if he is so insane that what he says has to be true. So if you like kind of that feel of In the Mouth of Madness with that insanity thing, take that Lovecraftian lore and mix it with a Godzilla movie. And that's what you have in a kaiju for Christmas. Let me go back to the chat. Oh, thank you, Dustin, for putting that in there. So that will be dropping tomorrow on Godless. And then we will be kicking off a new season of Southern Discomfort in January. So I'm sure you'll hear all about that. And also, as we're wrapping up, for those of you who have read my Dreadful Death series of books, my Theodosia books, the one that everybody talks about that is so scary, I have started working on a follow-up series to that, which is, if you've read it, and it may be hard to believe, but this one is a lot more darker than the Theo books. I cannot wait to get this one out. I am working on this one every day, and it's one of those books, and this is how it is for me every time I write Theo and write in this universe. It's so intense that as a writer, as I write these scenes, like, I have to take constant breaks because it's so draining, and then I have to go off and think about other things because of what these books contain. So the Theo series is absolutely terrifying. You can find that on Amazon, but I would encourage you can get them if you do Kindle. The Kindle versions are so cheap. They're like $2 or $3. They're on Amazon. And by far one of the most terrifying things I have written. So get those, read them, get prepared for this next book that is coming out, because you're going to need these first few books to prepare you for the follow-up. Not in the sense that if you don't read the first, you won't be able to understand this new series, because the way that I write my stuff is that you can kind of pick it up anywhere and you're not going to be totally lost. You'll need to read Theo to build up your senses, or actually have them torn down and become more desensitized, so that you can go read this next follow-up series, because it's off the chain, way more darker than the Dreadful Death series. Yes, thank you, Dustin. I think they're good too. I mean, if I don't believe in my work, who else is, right? I get excited about sharing this stuff with y'all. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. I will be back tomorrow night. I'm going through the book with Immortal Shadows. So come back and join us. Thank you, everybody, for being in the chat. Thank you all for participating, talking with each other, supporting this channel. Go back and check out our show on Krampus. Check out Tanya yobaby session with that haunted doll that she has. Those are all up there. Thank you, Dustin, for putting that link to the Dreadful Death series in there for me. I greatly appreciate it. Stick around for a few minutes. We always play our inspirational video at the end. And we wish everybody the best. All of us send you our love. Me, Bethany, Dustin, Tanya, Vickie, thank you so much for supporting this channel. And you're all great. I love that everybody comes in chat and hangs out with us and learns some stuff and has a great time. So I will see you all tomorrow night, and then also we'll see y'all Friday with Dustin, spearheading Haunted and Beyond.
Is this what giving up feels like? I don't know, I don't know. Tell me, have I lost my mind? Nowhere to go, so far from home. Is this what giving up feels like?